As one of my professors once said, the more you give, the more you get. And today we'll be diving into just that. What's up, friends? Paul here. And today we'll be diving into The Go-Giver, the book that follows the journey of Joe from being someone that's desperate to close a deal to someone who's thinking beyond just themselves and looking to live a more meaningful life. In this episode, we'll dive into the 5 laws of stratospheric success that it talks about, as well as the 3 universal reasons for working, and how you might be able to apply some of these ideas and principles from the book to your life. For those that don't know, I had a goal, I think it was in 2022, somewhere around there, to read 40 books. And I did, which was great. And I gained so much from that year. However, I kind of burnt out. And the next year, 2023, I didn't read as many books. But this year, that's actually like the last week or two, I've gotten back into reading books, and I would love to share with you some of those insights that I've learned along the way. So if you don't mind humoring me, we'll dive into some of these ideas, and hopefully you can take away some information that is worthwhile and some of my thoughts on these topics. Some other books, just in case you're curious, that I've read recently. I've just finished Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. That was a great read. Really fascinating to learn about Elon Musk and all that he's done, from Starlink, Tesla, to the solar panels. It's just, and then his SpaceX program, the Boring Company. It's just amazing how much this person achieves. And in fact, it almost feels like they achieve what some people achieve in a quarter within a couple days. And I think it's just so fascinating to see that and be inspired by the work that he's done. Elon Musk is somebody that other YouTubers even look up to, such as Mr. Beast. I think he draws a lot of inspiration from Elon Musk. Anyways, we're talking about the Go-Giver today. And I think there's a lot of insights that we can draw from this book. So why might you be interested in the Go-Giver? I think for many people, we have fundamental needs. Like you probably need to make a living to either support yourself or your family. So there's that need. But oftentimes we get stuck in that mode of just thinking, okay, I just need to make more money, then I'll be happier, then I'll, do more and be the person that I always want to be. But the problem is that fundamentally, if you're always working from that mindset, is that how are you going to progress from a personal and fundamental level, instead of from a, you're imagining that like the monetary difference will change your life. And as many people learn, in the end, that's not what makes a difference. I think the great philosophers are a good example of it. And oftentimes money can be a detriment to some people. And it doesn't change who you are. And I think that's what the Go-Giver is trying to illustrate, is that once you earn more money, it doesn't mean that you'll be a good person. That it doesn't go hand in hand. So I think this will be a fascinating dive. So just in case you're curious, the book is written by Bob Berg and John David Mann, if you're looking for this book. And the subtitle to this book is A Little Story About a Powerful Business Idea. And it's a short read, and it provides an easy story to follow. So if you're not like too into like nonfiction books and prefer fiction books, this actually might be a more interesting read than your typical nonfiction book. So yeah, you'll follow the story of Joe, and he meets this guy named Pindar, who basically opens the world. I kind of think of it as like Dante. So Dante has a guide to make it through, and Pindar is like Joe's guide through the story, and overcomes his current pain, and he realizes that it's actually not as much what he originally thought it was. It's something much bigger. And he ends up turning around his life and making, even though like things don't work out exactly how he anticipated in the beginning, he ends up better off. And so we're going to dive into some of those lessons right now. So the first thing that I want to talk about are the 5 laws of stratospheric success that they define. And a lot of these are very simple. They're probably things that you've heard before. And that's the thing, though, is a lot of times it's not rocket science often to find things that really will make a difference. It's often very basic and simple. And so the law of value is the first law of stratospheric success. And the way they define it is your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So, I mean, it's a very fundamental principle. It actually reminds me of when I was running a computer business as a kid in like high school, college. I would fix people's computers, and a lot of the people, they might have been older clients, and they were very appreciative of my service. However, as a kid, I knew that like fixing this problem wasn't like earth shattering, or it didn't take me much time. I'd just show up, fix the computer, done. It was super easy, simple. And I enjoyed helping people. And so in the end, like typically I'd say like, oh, don't worry about paying me. Or maybe it was like, I'll charge $5, $10 for my time. And oftentimes they'd be like, oh, no. I'll take care of it. I had one client in particular that said like, he kept on saying it every time. He was like, I'll take care of the money. You take care of the computer. And I got usually paid a lot more than $5, $10, let's just say. So sometimes, there could be cases like that where you're giving more, maybe you don't perceive the value, but the person that you're helping definitely feels that value that you're giving. And, they're more than willing to help you, whether that's monetary. And that's another thing. It's like the value that you give isn't always a monetary exchange. Sometimes it could be paying attention, giving someone your time and attention, because it's one of your most valuable resources and commodity. And sometimes it's just asking someone a question, or like really asking like, how are you doing? Because I've known some people that like when you ask them that question and like sincerely mean it, sometimes you'll get an answer that is very surprising, and you might not necessarily realize what they're going through. And often people are struggling with things that you can't see on the surface. And so often paying attention is a great way of providing extra value, or asking, what else can I do for you? Maybe going above and beyond for maybe you have a package or a service that you provide, and just like finding little ways to go above and beyond. I know there was this sound company that like installed sound systems, and every like Christmas they would send like this little packet with like candy and stuff like that. Another example is Sweetwater Music. That company, in their packages, I always enjoyed getting the candy. They would usually send in candy with their equipment, which was kind of like a fun thing to look forward to. Okay, so that's law number 1, the law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So something to keep in mind when you're determining your prices, or when you're trying to make a valuable proposition, is like, how can you stack value on what you're giving? And then number 2, the law of stratospheric success, is the law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So, you got to think like, if you are a teacher, a school teacher, your influence will be great. Don't get me wrong, but you're going to be somewhat limited on your influence to the students in front of you. Whereas, as they show in the example in the book, is that they have somebody that was a teacher and turned into a software company that made software for kids to learn and develop their skills. And so that's like a perfect example of like, in the teaching role, they had a very limited, effect that they could have. Not only that, they could only be compensated at like a teacher's salary. Whereas once they, monetize their software, use their knowledge and codified it. What's his name? It reminds me of Almanac. Naval Ravikant. I forget his exact name. But yeah, Naval talks about how there's like 3 ways to leverage like your time or money. And I believe things are like, I forget, like principles of leverage. So like one way of leveraging is through your, through code is one. So if you write a piece of software, it's easy to spread that and share it with other people. The other way is through your knowledge or content that you make, because content can be easily distributed. And then I think the third one is like your wealth. So that one's a little bit harder if you don't already are wealthy, because usually you need a good amount of money to invest. And I mean, obviously it's good to invest at whatever stage you're in. But obviously if you've got a lot of money, it's easier to invest in real estate or other, the stock market or whatnot. So that's the law of compensation. Think about someone like Elon Musk, with using solar power for, the solar panels, with Tesla, and he's trying to get it to as many people, impact as many lives as he can through that, product and service. So maybe you can also think about ways that you can scale or impact more people. And then this sort of flows into our third law, which is the law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. And one of the things that they talk about is that you want to stop keeping score. You want to find ways that you can help people without expecting anything in return. So the example that they gave and just to give you an idea of the storyline, so Joe visits Pindar. Pindar tells him he's going to give him these lessons for free. Like he doesn't have to charge anything. And usually they end up meeting someone every single day of the week. And each day he learns something, but basically there's a rule for him that he has to apply each of these things every single day. Otherwise he'll stop the lessons and, because he doesn't, as Pindar says, you can't waste my time, but you can waste your own time. And he doesn't want, Joe to waste his own time, even though, it's, he's given this valuable information. So he has to value it in his own life. And so one of the examples they give is that Joe decides to give coffee to all of his coworkers. He just like goes above and beyond. He just makes them coffee. There's kind of the coffee thing is kind of another side thing throughout the book that ends up being a major part of it. Anywho, I mean, who doesn't love coffee? Coffee's amazing. So he ends up giving coffee to all of his coworkers, which is fantastic. And the funniest thing is at the end, he just felt funny doing it. He just didn't feel comfortable. And I think like the thing is like you have to almost embrace that discomfort, because that's just part of life. Sometimes you just have that like discomfort in that moment when you're doing something above and beyond. And let's be real, if you want to make a difference, oftentimes you do need to get into this discomfort. You got to get out of your comfort zone because that's where you'll grow the most. So think about how you can go above and beyond, maybe reach out to more people, give a word of encouragement. It doesn't have to be something huge, or maybe just like going out to coffee with somebody, with a friend. Just thinking about ways of going out of your normal routine to help someone else. And then number 4, and I think this one's very useful no matter what you're doing, and that's the law of authenticity. So the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. So I think people can relate to others who share their own story, and that they can see themselves or can relate to other people's experiences. I think one of the things that I struggled with was like starting this podcast without like, it's hard creating content. And I think one of the things that you have to keep going back to, and I'm working through it right now, is like, how can you keep being yourself, showing up the same way, if sometimes like you have this expectation of what other people want to see, and then it can make you go after, let's say, views or likes, and then you just like it can cripple you. Like I felt that, like creating content, like that's probably why I haven't posted a video on this podcast in a long time, is because I felt kind of crippled by like just feeling the need to keep improving. So it's like a good thing, but at the same time, like you kind of feel like crippled by it, because like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like I need to find a way to make this more exciting, and to compete with all these other creators out there who are creating something that's more, they either have a higher production value, or they're better with their words. They're better at presenting. I think a great example of this is Ira Glass. And if you haven't watched it before, he's got this thing on taste. So if you search Ira Glass taste, I think you'll enjoy this video that someone made with his words that he said about this. But the funniest thing about Ira Glass is that he was considered to have a bad, like he wouldn't have like a radio voice. I think he was like told that, but he kind of like made it, he actually made it in kind of like the NPR world. And so he proved that wrong. So if people are telling you no, it doesn't always mean that it's an authentic no. And if you believe that you're meant to do something, I think putting in the effort and getting past that can be helpful, not only for yourself, but those around you, because who knows if your authentic story, like your struggle to get to where you want to be, to where you want to go, might inspire others to spark their journey. And so your work can greatly help others. So don't be afraid if you want to start something new and it seems daunting, or you feel insecure. That's probably where most people are. So that's my encouragement to you about this authenticity is as they say, the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. So share your story, share who you are in your own authentic way, because you have a particular taste, as Ira Glass says, and you've got good taste, but often we struggle with the implementation of that taste, and we need to have a lot of iterations and refining to have what we're making match our taste. So for all those creatives out there, keep having that authenticity. And then the final law, the law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. So one way that you can get stratospheric success is not just giving, but also you need to be open when other people are giving you something in return for what you've done to them. Whether it's a simple thank you, like if they say like, thank you so much, like you don't have to say, oh, it was nothing. You can say, thanks, I appreciate it. Just receiving whatever they kind of give you. It goes a long way. And I think people appreciate when, they see a happy receiver. I'm actually probably one of the worst, because sometimes like I want things to go a certain way or like happen a certain way. And sometimes I miss the thought or like the person's effort in giving or in saying what they did. And so I think that's something that I can apply into my own life. The other thing that I want to talk about real quick is that they talk about in the book, The Go-Giver, is the 3 universal reasons for working. And the 3 universal reasons for working are 1, to survive, to meet your basic living needs. I think a lot of us hopefully are doing that. And then number 2, once you get past that, was to save, to go beyond your basic needs and to expand your life. And number 3 is where basically everyone should strive to be. And that is to serve, to make a contribution to the world around you. And so I think that in your life, you can kind of assess where you are. Where are you currently? Maybe you're more in the survive, save mode. And maybe this is something that, like, in certain areas, you're more in the survive, save mode, and other areas, you're more in the serving mode. Maybe at work, you're in the survive mode. You're just like showing up, but like not doing much beyond that for your coworkers or those around you. And then maybe in your family, you're serving, you're like going above and beyond, you're volunteering at, your church, you're giving to you're showing up at the local food bank, different ways that you're showing up. But I think if you can apply these principles, the 5 laws of stratospheric success, and have it more as like a vocational calling of like giving more, because I think, the more we have like things that are good, that are true and beautiful in our lives, the more aligned we are with the best version of ourselves. And I think, again, going to the serving mode, that vocation, the calling to be the person in your business, in your family, at work, wherever you are, at church, to be a example of this, to give yourself, be authentic, I think is a great thing. So that's The Go-Giver. Highly recommend checking it out. Great book. I feel like I've benefited from reading it, and I feel like you would too. I also will plug, go to Hoopla, go to Libby, take advantage of your library resources. I listen to it as an audiobook. And so you can do that as well. Check to see if your library has Hoopla, Libby. I think that's it. There might be another one, but sometimes I just prefer having an audiobook because it's easy and sometimes free. You got the library, and it's a great resource. Yeah. And so that's The Go-Giver, my friends. Let me know in the comments if you plan to read The Go-Giver, or if there's another book that you think I should check out that I might enjoy. Let me know. And until next time, my friends, stay messy.